The journey begins. Understanding the heavens and the vast, sacred texts of the Bible, one of the most mysterious and profound topics is that of the heavens, or the sky. Not just the sky we see with our earthly eyes, but a divine realm of unimaginable beauty and holiness, a place where God's glory shines in ways we cannot fully comprehend. The Bible speaks of three distinct heavens, each of them unique and critical in understanding God's cosmic design. The first heaven is the atmosphere that surrounds our world, the sky we gaze at daily, where clouds gather and storms brew. It is the realm of birds, airplanes, and rain. It's what we call home and what we can touch and feel. In Genesis, when God created the heavens and the earth, this first heaven was brought into existence, stretching above the earth as a testament to God's power and creativity. But this first heaven, while magnificent, is only the beginning of what God intended to reveal. There's more, far more than our earthly eyes can see. The second heaven, described in Scripture as the celestial realm, is the vast expanse of the universe. The stars, the planets, and the cosmic wonders we peer into through telescopes are part of this second heaven. It's a realm of uncharted beauty and vastness, where God placed the sun, moon, and stars to mark the times and seasons. Yet, for all the awe it inspires, the second heaven is still a creation, something that exists within God's dominion, subject to His will and direction. It is not the ultimate place where God's presence fully dwells. For that, we must look to the third heaven, the highest heaven, where God Himself resides in all His splendor. In this third heaven, there is no decay, no sin, no imperfection. It is a realm where the angels worship, where the saints who have passed away are at peace, and where God's throne is firmly established. It's in this third heaven that the Apostle Paul found himself in a vision, experiencing something so extraordinary that he could not even fully describe it. As we dive into the Scriptures to explore these three heavens, we'll uncover not just the nature of the heavens themselves, but the purpose they serve in God's grand design. The first heaven reveals His provision, the second His majesty, and the third, His eternal reign. The first heaven is where humanity's story begins, a sky that we breathe in every day without giving it much thought. It is the sky that blankets our world, where the sun rises and sets, where the birds fly, and where the weather shapes our days. We experience the first heaven in its simplest form, yet within it lies the intricate design of God's creation. The Bible teaches us that this heaven was the first of the divine realms to be made. In Genesis, the creation story unfolds with the heavens and the earth being formed. This first heaven serves as the stage for God's earthly creation. The sky is not just an empty space, it holds the balance of life on earth. The rain falls from the clouds, nourishing the earth and sustaining life. The winds blow, and the earth's weather patterns shift, all under the sovereign hand of God. The first heaven provides the air we breathe, and without it, life would not be possible. The first heaven also holds symbolic meaning. In Scripture, the sky is often a symbol of God's presence and power. When Moses ascended Mount Sinai to receive the Ten Commandments, the skies above him thundered and lightning flashed, revealing the power of God's voice. In the book of Psalms, we are reminded that the heavens declare the glory of God, showing us His majesty through the beauty of the natural world. Yet the first heaven is not just about what is seen. It is also about what is unseen, the forces that shape the world. In Ephesians, Paul speaks of the prince of the power of the air, referring to spiritual forces that dwell in the atmosphere. These forces are at work in the world, often unseen, but still very real. The first heaven, therefore, is a realm where both divine and spiritual activity occur, influencing the course of human history. As we ponder the vastness of the first heaven, we are reminded of God's intimate involvement in our daily lives. He doesn't just create the heavens and leave them to function on their own. He continually sustains them. The first heaven speaks of God's providence, His care for His creation, ensuring that everything operates according to His plan. The sun rises and sets because God commands it, and the weather changes because he directs it. The first heaven is also a reminder of God's protection. In Psalm 91, we are told that God covers us with his feathers, and under his wings we find refuge. The sky, in all its vastness, becomes a metaphor for the safety and security we find in God's presence. Even as we face the trials of life, we are reminded that God is always watching over us, like a parent watching over a child. Through this first heaven, we begin to glimpse the divine order that God has set in place, and how it is all interconnected. Everything from the smallest raindrop to the towering clouds serves a purpose within his grand design. As we move forward, we will see how this first heaven connects to the other realms of existence, the second and third heavens, and how each heaven reveals more of God's infinite wisdom. I'll continue with more topics next. Does this approach work for you so far? Beyond the earth and its sky lies a vast expanse, stretching far beyond what the human eye can perceive. This is the second heaven, the celestial realm, a domain of stars, planets, and galaxies that exist beyond our world. It is the domain of the universe, the uncharted vastness that God created and placed in the heavens to showcase his grandeur and might. This second heaven is a powerful testimony to God's infinite creativity and his dominion over all creation. In Genesis, the creation of the stars is mentioned, placed by God to serve as signs for the seasons, days, and years. The second heaven speaks to God's meticulous attention to detail as he set the stars in their courses, giving them purpose and meaning. From the smallest star to the most distant galaxy, each is a part of God's divine design, created to reflect his majesty and power. But the second heaven is not only a place of beauty and wonder, it is also a place of mystery. We cannot fully understand the vastness of the universe, nor can we comprehend how far it stretches. And yet, this is all part of God's plan. In Isaiah, we read that God has created the heavens with his hands and stretched out the stars as a canopy. These words remind us of the enormity of God's creation, one that exists far beyond the scope of human understanding. One of the most significant aspects of the second heaven is its role in marking the passage of time. In Genesis, when God created the sun, moon, and stars, he declared that they would serve as signs to mark the days, the seasons, and the years. The movement of the stars and planets is not random. It is purposeful and divinely orchestrated. This speaks to the fact that God is not distant from the workings of the universe. Instead, he is deeply involved in the cosmic order, ensuring that everything functions according to his will. In the second heaven, we also encounter the concept of spiritual warfare. In Ephesians, Paul speaks of the heavenly realms where spiritual forces, both good and evil, are at work. The second heaven, while beautiful and awe-inspiring, is also a place of conflict. Angels and demons battle in this celestial realm. This worship is not a mere ritual. It is a celebration of victory. Every saint who stands before God has overcome sin, death, and the trials of the earthly life. They are clothed in white robes, a symbol of purity, and they hold palm branches, representing triumph. Their presence in heaven is the fulfillment of God's promise, a testimony that faithfulness to him is always rewarded. Unlike earthly worship, which is often hindered by fatigue, distractions, or doubts, worship in the third heaven is fueled by an eternal source, God himself. There is no need for a worship leader, no need for music rehearsals. The very presence of God compels every heart to sing, every soul to rejoice. The sound of this heavenly choir is unlike anything known on earth, a melody so powerful that it resonates through eternity. This worship is also deeply personal. Each soul in heaven has their own story of redemption, their own testimony of how God's grace carried them through life's struggles. They are not merely repeating words. They're proclaiming their gratitude, their awe, their love. The angels, who have never known sin, marvel at the depth of the saints' worship, for only those who have been redeemed can truly comprehend the magnitude of God's mercy. And as they worship, there is no fear of time running out, no concern for earthly matters. They are fully immersed in the presence of God, experiencing the joy that surpasses all understanding. This is the third heaven, a place where worship is eternal, unbroken, and uncontainable. A place where every soul, free from sorrow, pours out its love for the Creator without end. Heaven is not an empty void. It is a place of divine architecture, a city built by God Himself. In Revelation, John describes the New Jerusalem, a glorious city that descends from heaven, shining like a precious jewel. This city is unlike anything ever seen on earth, designed not by human hands, but by the master builder of the universe. The New Jerusalem is constructed of materials beyond earthly comprehension. Its walls are made of jasper, its gates of pearl, and its streets of pure gold, so refined that they appear as transparent glass. The city is perfectly symmetrical, measuring 12,000 stadia in length, width, and height, an enormous cube, representing completeness and divine perfection. At the heart of the city flows the river of life, clear as crystal, proceeding from the throne of God. On either side of this river stands the tree of life, bearing 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its harvest every month. This tree, once guarded in the Garden of Eden, is now freely accessible to all who dwell in the city. Its leaves bring healing to the nations, symbolizing the eternal restoration of God's people. Unlike earthly cities, which are marked by crime, sorrow, and decay, the New Jerusalem is a place of absolute peace. There is no need for a sun or moon, for God Himself is its light. There are no locked doors, no sickness, no suffering. Every tear is wiped away, every wound healed. The former things have passed, and all that remains is joy. The gates of the city, each made of a single pearl, are never closed. This symbolizes the eternal security of heaven. There is no threat, no enemy lurking outside. The saints walk freely, enjoying the splendor of God's creation, engaging in eternal fellowship with one another. In this city, there is no temple, for God Himself dwells among His people. No longer is there a need for sacrifices or mediators. The relationship between God and man is fully restored. His presence is constant, His love tangible. This is the third heaven, the eternal home of the redeemed, the place where God's glory dwells without restraint. It is a city built not just for habitation, but for communion, a place where God and His children live together in perfect harmony forever. Though the third heaven is our final destination, our journey begins in the first heaven, the earthly realm. Life on earth is filled with trials, temptations, and moments of both joy and suffering. But for those who place their faith in God, this world is not the end. It is merely the beginning. The Bible often describes life as a journey, a pilgrimage toward our true home. Abraham, the father of faith, was called to leave his homeland in search of a city built by God. The Israelites wandered through the wilderness, longing for the promised land. Likewise, we are travelers, moving through the temporary trials of this world toward an eternal inheritance. As we navigate life, we are constantly reminded of the existence of the second heaven. The stars in the sky whisper of something greater, something beyond our current understanding. The heavens declare the glory of God, stirring within us a deep longing for eternity. Every breathtaking sunset, every glimpse of the vast universe, serves as a reminder that there is more than what we can see. But the road to the third heaven is not without obstacles. The enemy seeks to distract, discourage, and deceive. The battles fought in the second heaven affect the lives of those on earth. Spiritual warfare rages around us, unseen yet very real. The forces of darkness work tirelessly to keep souls from reaching their heavenly destination. However, for those who trust in God, there is victory. Christ has already conquered death, and His resurrection is the guarantee that we, too, will one day rise. Our citizenship is not of this world, but of heaven. Every step we take on this earth is leading us closer to the moment when we will enter the gates of eternity. The journey may be long, The road may be difficult, but the destination is worth it. When we finally cross from the first heaven into the third, when we stand before God and hear Him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant," every struggle will fade into insignificance. The trials of this world will be forgotten, replaced by the overwhelming joy of eternity in God's presence.